My name is Tim Stout, owner of the Tim Stout Group, my brokerage. Been investing for probably about 10 years. Been selling real estate for over a dozen years. Been involved over 3,000 transactions. We own about 40 doors, two office buildings, so we've been doing it a while. A lot of multifamily, single family, and office buildings. So I did nothing but study this for years. I'm the type of person who doesn't want to be mediocre at anything. So when I decide I'm going to do something, I go all in. So I hope that comes out with everything I say. I get to talking fast. I get talking in circles, so you just have to work with me. So we'll get where we need to go. So we're going to start with the 5 reasons to invest in real estate. Some of it's going to be very basic. Some of it's going to be simple. Some of it's going to be things you know, but keep an open mind because a lot of times they'll have a different twist. Number 1 is one of the main reasons that 95% of everybody gets involved into investing in real estate, and it's cash flow. Everybody thinks, cash flow is king. This is how you invest in real estate. This is how I'm going to replace my 9 to 5. This is the story they tell themselves. Cash flow. Cash flow is the difference between the mortgage, insurance, taxes, management, and the amount of rent you bring in. If my rent is $2,000, I pay a $1,000 mortgage, and I've got $300 in miscellaneous fees. I cash flow $700 a month. That's money to me, as long as it's occupied, as long as there's nothing wrong with the property. That's where a lot of people get really hung up on. That's what they're looking for. But that's one of the hardest things to really get, and we'll get into those details too. Number 2 is appreciation. Appreciation is the part of real estate investing is what is going to make you wealthy. If you owned real estate pre-COVID and it appreciated 10% for almost 2 years. So if you had a $500,000 property, you woke up in 2 years with over $100,000 in equity just because it happened. Appreciation almost always happens. We've had a few down years, especially the ones that are old enough to remember 08, but we always come out of that. Anytime we've had a downward trajectory, we've always come up out of it. And out of one big thing about appreciation, one big thing about real estate, out of all of the economic crashes we've had over the last 100 years, only one of them really affected real estate, and that was in 08. So that was the big one. That's the one that scarred a lot of people. That's where a lot of people lost a lot of money, but that was the big one. Number 3 is debt pay down. There is no other investment that I know of that you can invest in and somebody else pays your debt. That is huge. If I buy stock in Bank of America, I have to pay it. I'm going to have to pay that. With a rental property, I own the property, I put someone else in there and they pay my debt for me. So that's a really big one. Tax benefits. Tax benefits are huge, especially you hear on the news like with Trump, a lot of these the real bazillionaire people. They use the tax benefits from real estate to save a lot of money, and dollar saved, dollar made. They'll use write-offs, depreciating costs, pass-through deductions, deferred taxes, incentive programs, 1031 exchange. 1031 exchange is really good once you start getting into, I can sell a property, as long as it's an investment property, not a property I live in, and I can take that money and buy a new property, and I don't have to pay taxes on it. It gets deferred. It gets passed through to whenever I sell that property. And you can continue to do that. You'll see that a lot of times with investors that are doing big multifamily, commercial. You see that a whole lot. Number 5 is the most important one, and this is like the reason that investing in real estate is so important, and it's leverage. That's the most important one. If I walked into Bank of America and I said, Bank of America, I want to buy $100,000 worth of stocks, will you loan me money on it? They're going to say no. They're not going to loan me money on their own stock. I go in the same bank and tell them I have a piece of real estate that's $100,000 and I want to buy it. They're going to give me 80% of the value. And there's a reason because of that. There's a reason because real estate always appreciates over time. We'll see down years, but it's always appreciated so far. Somebody will pay you to live in that house, and you have to insure it, and the bank will hold a lien on it. There's so many benefits of that. If I take $100,000 and buy stock with it, I have $100,000 in stock. If I take the same $100,000 and buy real estate with it, I have $500,000 in real estate. And I also have someone who's going to pay that debt down. It's going to appreciate over time. And every year, my rents raise. We have a property manager speaking today, and we're going to talk about rent raises. Every year, my properties will go up 3 to 5% in value, not counting COVID, and so do the rents. So that's a 6 to 10% raise on everything that I own while someone else is paying it down. So there are big benefits of that. So leverage is my big one. So going through the 5, this is the important part: cash flow, appreciation, debt pay down, your tax benefits, and number 5, leverage. Leverage is the most important one. Any questions about the reasons you would own real estate? Okay, cool. We're all here for this, so that's the benefits of it. So now, ways to make money in real estate. There's 100 different ways. I've highlighted a handful. Number 1, wholesaling. You hear wholesaling in a lot of different industries. Wholesaling with real estate is I buy a contract and I sell the contract. I never own the property. I've never purchased the property. It's like I own this pen. I want to sell it for $3. Harris comes up to me and goes, Tim, I'll give you $2 cash right now. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. He goes, give me the end of the week to pay you. I'm like, okay, it's yours, $2. He writes on a napkin, I'm gonna sell him this pen for $2. So then he's got a list of people that like this pen. He goes, who wants to give me $5 for his pen? So now Joe wants to give him $5 for the pen. So he writes him a contract that I'll give you $5 for that pen. So now we go to the courthouse or the judge's place or wherever we're going to do this transaction. I give him the pen. The guy, the end buyer, pays me. He gets the leftover. So I get my $2. He gets his $3 because it was contractual binding. It was an assumable. We were able to pass that off. So he was able to get that. So the same thing with wholesaling. I did several wholesaling deals. It's not something, I know a lot of people who do a lot of wholesaling. Wholesaling is something that a lot of people get into because they feel like it's a get rich quick. It's I can buy real estate with no money down. And you absolutely can if you know how. But it's tricky. You have a lot on the line.
Is there a particular type of property that is uniquely suited to that type of transaction?
As long as you have a buyer for it, no. No. Wholesaling is, I've wholesaled big properties, little properties. Apartment complex, me and my wife bought 2 years ago, March. 2 years ago, March, that wholesaler made $100,000. Did nothing, but called me and be like, hey, Tim, I've got an apartment complex. You want it? Yes. What's the value? And we still got it $300,000 under value, but he made $100,000. He found a seller whose issue was they needed something moved fast. And when you're wholesaling, you can't finance wholesaling. It's a cash offer. Because I don't want to do a cash offer. If Harris called me and said, hey, Tim, sell my house, I'm not going to go to Harris' house and be like, well, I'll wholesale it for you. I'll do this and I'll do this. It's my job to sell Harris as a real estate agent, as a realtor, to sell his house for the most money I possibly can. But Harris, this house was given to him. Harris is going through a divorce. Something's going on with Harris, and I need money now. Okay, I can do this. This is how we're going to work it. Then the wholesale contract starts. Number 2 is wholesaling. This is my absolutely favorite thing to do. Wholesaling, you act as if you're wholesaling, but you purchase the property, but then you sell it immediately. We did one of these about 3 months ago, bought a property for $15,000. 2 days after having it, after us owning it, we sold it for $45,000. We bought a property, problem property, lots of issues, and we did nothing. Well, I say we did nothing to it. I paid someone $300 to haul trash off. I paid someone to cut the grass, and I spent about $200 in bug bombs, and I swept up about 2 dozen dustpans full of them. Did you ever walk that property, Cheryl? That was horrible, yeah. But we got it out, was able to make $30,000 profit because we was able to fix a problem somebody had. Nobody else would buy this property. She couldn't put it on the market because it's unfinanceable. But we had it. We had an investor that was able to buy that property for $45,000. He'll put $30 in it. And he'll sell it for $130. He will make good money.
I have a question. Now, is that different than flipping? I've heard flipping and all that stuff.
Yeah. Between wholesaling or wholesaling? Hoteling, yes. Flipping, I will improve a property. Hoteling, I buy it, sell it to an investor. Flipping, I buy it, renovate it, sell it. So there's two gaps of profit here. Hoteling, I skipped the last one. But one of the big important things to realize when you're investing in real estate is the velocity of money. If I can do one flip that takes me a year to do it and I make $100,000, sounds pretty awesome. But if I can do a flip that I can do every 2 weeks and I can make $10,000, I'm gonna make a lot more money. The velocity of money, how fast can I move that money, has a big deal. I happen to be married to a general contractor, so it does really well, so I can buy the property, she deals with all that, and I can sell the property. So it helps me a whole lot because I can move it pretty fast. So that's wholesaling. Wholesaling it's a newer thing, it's coming out. Fixing and flip properties. You find undervalued, distressed properties at a discount. You improve the property and you sell for the max value. So sounds easy enough. With all of these, the big issue you're going to find out is finding a property that's undervalued. I had a property brought to me today by actually one of my agents. They want to buy his property, and we're going to back commissions out of it, and it's going to cash flow. I'm like, okay, you're paying market value for this property. You're backing 6% out of it. When you sell it, flip it, whenever that is, you're paying your other 6%. And it's not a good property. My rule of thumb is 0.7%. If I have a $200,000 property, my MAO, my max allowable offer, is $140,000. That's what I will give for that property. But I'll let you know, Harris, your house is worth $200,000. I could put it on the market and I can sell it for that. If you want a cash offer, if you want the money in 2 weeks, it needs to be $140,000. And this is why, because I'm not stingy. I'm not the big rich man trying to take all your money. It's going to take me 6% to sell it. I'm going to have to pay taxes. I'm going to have to improve it. Something may or may not be more wrong with it than I can physically see. And if all that works out perfectly, there's going to be profit at the end. If it doesn't, I'm stuck holding the bag, not you. There's a risk for me. This is why it's important. You explain that. If you don't, you're going to be the butthole. You got to make sure explaining why you need it for this, or you're just the guy making lowball offers. And there's a lot of investors that have horrible reputations because they don't have enough sense to explain this to the buyer or the seller. Trust me, the seller knows. The seller knows they're giving you a discount. But it's better to educate that seller than that seller to think you've done them wrong. Because the second you've done them wrong, you can about count you're not getting any more deals. And if you can sleep at night doing that, you can, but I can't. Okay, so where are we at? That's in fix and flip. Okay, so when it's talking about distressed properties, the important part of the distressed properties, grass overgrown, cars parked in the driveway or in the yard, needs roof work, windows busted out. These are the type of things when you see them, you're like, I like this. This one is someone's problem that they're not going to be able to sell on the open market because it doesn't show well, it doesn't smell well, it doesn't look well. Nothing about this looks like a family wants to move into it. But I can get into this property. I can put $15,000, $20,000 into this property, and I can sell it for $80,000 more than I paid for it because I was able to add value. There's where the property's value is now, what it's perceived at, improvement value, and what I can sell it for. That gap is what you've got to look for, is how can I get it here? And not all properties make sense for flipping. Some properties make sense for buying hold or rental property, which we'll get into. There's different ways to make money with real estate, and it doesn't have to be just one. I'm just a fix and flipper. Okay, great. You get passed up on a lot of deals, or your margins are too thin the majority of the time, so you got to be real careful with that. Because the goal is, like I said, 0.7%. That's where I get all of mine. If I have to do renovations, I back that out. If I have a $100,000 house, that's where I think the value is. I need to get that at $70,000. If it needs $10,000 worth of work, now I need to get it at $60,000. Because I need to put that $10,000 work, then have that $30,000 spread. If I bought it for $70,000 and it needed $25,000 worth of work, I'll make $5,000. Guess how much it costs to sell a $100,000 house, Caleb? $6,000. So you're $1,000 behind because you did that. Because you didn't do your math right. The money is made in real estate when you purchase a property, not when you sell it. You can't dictate what you sell it for. You can put your feet in the mud, pay the lender, $1,000 every month because you're not going to sell it. That's just going to eat, eat, eat. The market will always dictate what your house sells for. Long-term rentals, my favorite. This is where money is made. Money is made by holding properties and receiving appreciation. Like I said, rents go up 3 to 5% a year. Home values go up 3 to 5% a year. The longer I hold a property, the more value it goes up, the more rents go up. This is a great thing. If you take care of your property, if you have a good property manager, your property stays better longer. You get better tenants. I have people I've invested with and they refuse to use a property manager because they don't want to pay that 10%. They're evicting somebody every 4 months. They're having to do paint and carpet every time. It kills them because they can't do this. They cannot keep this work up, but they don't understand it. All they see is that 10%. It's the same person that don't want to hire me to sell their house because they don't want to pay 3% to our agent, and I'm known to get you multiple thousands of dollars over asking, but people don't want to do that because I'm not paying that agent. And it's the same way with property manager. There's 2 rules I have about investing in properties. I'll never swing a hammer and I'll never manage it. And I attempted to manage it. Cheryl will tell you that story. That's horrible. First person hands me money gets it. I'm like, okay, you're getting it. And like, should we sign a lease? I'm like, yes. It's horrible. So I'm not that guy. But Cheryl is. So I've got a girl. Okay, so long-term rental. Talk about it. That's still you want to buy still at a discount. You want to create value because that equity is still there. The fixer-upper, the value add. This is when you buy a property that needs value. And the reason I enjoy it, I'm going to talk about Burb. I'm going to get that to the bottom of it. Okay, fixer-upper, turnkey rentals. This is where I started out in real estate. I didn't want to do the work. I didn't know how to do the work, so I bought the property already ready to go. Luckily, I bought the property when it was when the market was really, really good, so it continued to appreciate regardless. My rule of thumb is, can I put someone in there, and can they pay the mortgage, taxes, insurance? If they could do that, I'm good. I can make a couple $100 off top of it. I'm fine with it. That's how we started, which is great. And then the more I was educated, the more repetitions I did buying and selling house and helping representing investors, the more I realized that the money is made in the appreciation. So if I can find a property, improve the value, increase what it's worth, but that's invented. I have a $100,000 property. I do $20,000. The $100,000 property is worth $100,000. I do a $20,000 renovation, and now it's worth $150,000. That $30,000 just poof. It was just there. It just created it. You created it because you know how to create that. You can create money out of thin air with real estate investing if you know how to do it. If you got a great contractor, if you know how to do that, that happens. So I'm able to create that out of thin air, and now I have options. If I need to sell it, I can sell it for a profit. If I need to refinance it, I can refinance it for a profit. There's a lot of things I can have. Your net worth is the difference in what you owe and what you have. The more of those you create, the higher your net worth is. I know a lot of people have net worth goals. That's how you increase it. Live-in flips. This is where a lot of people start with live-in flips. So this is buying a property that's a rough shape. You come in and you work on it as you live in it. I do a room here, I do floors here, I do carpet here, I do paint here, I'm doing a roof, and you slowly take it over. It can be a couple years. Then you can move out of that house or sell that house, and you can sell it for the profit with the pure intentions. The young people in this place, that's exactly what I'd be doing. I'd be doing this or the next one I'm gonna get into. But you can get in there and you can start fixing the house up, sell it for a profit, and you keep the equity. Take that equity, put it into your next house. I mean, how much better would it be to create $50,000 out of equity, thin air, and then you purchase your next home? That's an amazing feeling that you're able to do that, and you can rinse and repeat it. Short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO. Short-term rentals is someone that stays like a day, they stay a week. I've never did this, don't think I ever will. I'm not a fan of anything someone else can really dictate. The short-term rentals decreased by like 40% year over year from 2022 to 2023. And the reason this happened is because real estate buying and investing didn't work by the numbers. The numbers that I'm talking about, the 1% rule, the 10% rule, the 70% purchase price, it started to not work because interest rates hit the ceiling. So investing didn't work. So everybody's like, they're getting smart. They're like, okay, I need to invest in real estate as a business. Anybody that's been investing a little bit, they're big. Self-storage. Self-storage is huge. We should do self-storage. Self-storage is real estate that I own that I have to do very little management, but it's a business. So is short-term rentals, because you got to have someone to manage it. You got to have someone to clean it. You got to have someone to come in and repair and fix things. It's a business. When I invest in real estate, I invest for the sole purpose of passive income. It doesn't work for me, but it does work for a lot of people, and I know a lot of people have a lot of money that do really well with this. I was speaking at a convention in Hermosa Beach probably 5 years ago, had two young kids in the class. It was the top 1% realtors. They come in and be like, I'm going to invest in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, because it just remember it just burnt down. I'm like, don't do that. Like, don't do that. Everybody's going to be building. Anyway, these kids have about 10 $2 million mansions that stay rented out every weekend all year. Like, they kill it. Like, I'm talking, that's all they do now. They just manage it. So, I still wasn't going to do it, but I look at it a little different when I hear it. So I was like, okay, you did good.
So why do you say young people do the short-term rentals?
Not short-term rental. Live and flip. Live and flip. Yeah. Just because you don't have kids, most of the time you don't have a significant other. And if you do have a significant other, it's still early. So you get along a little better. Yeah.
With the live and flip, how important is it that you stick to that 7%? Is that reason why with
No, I mean, and then you could buy it for 100%. As long as you can improve it and understand if you live in it for 3 years and average appreciation is 3 to 5%, you're looking at 9 to 15% appreciation. That 9% will cover your costs. It'll cover your 6% realtor fees, your 3% closing costs, worst case scenario. So you will break even, but you look at it, you got to hold it. Me and Christy bought a property a couple years ago. It didn't work out. We couldn't sell it, and we had a repair that we didn't know was going to happen, and we had to rent it for a year, and then we sold it for a profit. It's like you need multiple exit strategies of anything that you purchase. If I purchase with any given intent that doesn't work out, then you fail. Like, I need to get it at a price that I can sell. Even my rental properties, I can sell every one of my rental properties if I needed to. So you need to have multiple exit strategies to make sure that you're covered, because it doesn't take one bad downturn, 08, and then you're stuck. So you want to make sure you may, instead of 3 years, you may have to live in it for 5. Which is okay too. Next one, house hacking. This is one young people should definitely look into. That a lot of people get started with this. House hacking is rent by the room. You buy a 5-bedroom house, you rent 4 rooms for $500 to your buddies. So you got 4 rooms, rent for $500. You're making $2,000. Your mortgage is $1,500. You're in the profit. You're doing well. You could keep that. You could keep that. Move out into another house, rent your room for another $500, then you're profiting again. You're profiting another $1,000. Or you can sell it and move to a bigger one. A lot of people do this on group homes. Same thing. A lot of people do independent living facilities for people that just got out of jail, people who need like alcoholism problems. Like they have these facilities for them that people get it, they rent it by the room, and they usually got someone that helps manage it. So just be mindful when you rent for the room. Most of them, they call them group homes, but like you got some for guys and some for girls for obvious reasons. But I know a lot of people who do pretty well with that. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units. California is famous for this. They just passed a law that any municipality cannot tell them they can't have one. ADUs are little small homes, tiny homes, barn, whatever they're going to put in their backyard, put a bathroom in it where you can live, and they rent it out to help cover the costs. You can build in your garage and do it. There's a lot of things you can do with ADUs. A lot of things. ADU, auxiliary dwelling unit. You can build out the garage in California.
You cannot do it in California.
No. In California you can, though. We don't do a lot of ADUs here.
Basically, the building department. They'll be provided online. California has extremely strict rules and regulations.
Anything ADU you're probably not going to do here. Yeah.
Unless you have 10 or more acres.
I found a lot of the big problems with that. We were going to do that for ourselves. There was like frontage rules, available frontage, and even with the Airbnb, we ran into places where if you have a cooking surface, you have to get fire suppression installed, and all these things. You're like, well, I have no idea until you go to do it. So
they don't want a lot of these different municipalities, cities, counties. They don't want short-term rentals to go in there. And the reason being is because the hotel industry has a, what do you call it, the mafia guy? No, not the lobbyist, what is it? Union. Yeah, so that's the reason the UFC didn't make it to New York City until years, is because the culinary union wouldn't allow Dana White to bring that business there because he was part owner of the Station casinos and they were ununionized in Vegas. That's the reason they couldn't go to, but so unions run it. So unions are really big. Uber, try to get an Uber at the airport. You got to walk 3 miles. Union, taxi's a union. So it's sort of the same thing with that. Did you say something, Angel?
You answered.
Okay,
There's
cool.
an existing structure. Can you rent it out legally here?
What was the question?
Existing structure.
There's already an existing mother-in-law suite or some sort of, like it's already existing, you can rent it out as a short-term rental or long-term rental?
It's already built.
Okay, just no, you're not allowed to build it.
You're not allowed to get caught. Well, I'm just kidding, I didn't say that. Garage apartments doesn't work here, but it will work in other places. Duplex, triplex, quadplex. If I had it do over again, that's exactly what I would do. I would buy me a duplex, I'd rent out the other side, I'd pay my mortgage down till I could refinance it, and I'd move into a triplex, and I would continue to do that. This is house hacking, but you still have your private suite. You still have your area, your space that you can be in that's yours. So that's a great investment. And duplex, triplex, quadplex, you can buy with residential financing. You don't have to have any special mortgages. The same way you buy your house, you same way up to a quadplex.
And that's the same thing as multifamily.
Yeah, multifamily, but yeah, below 4, yeah. 432, yeah. First quadplex we ever bought, we bought from an agent, and I called her, and I was like, well, this thing's been on the market a while, and it's nice. Like, you know, what's the deal with it? And she said, well, we can't get it, nobody can get a mortgage on it. I'm like, why not? She goes, well, we don't have any rents in there, so therefore we don't have a cap rate. Therefore, people can't get commercial rent or commercial mortgages from it. I'm like, that's interesting. I said, can I see it? I may be able to make something work, knowing good and well that I can get all kinds of loans on this thing. And we ended up getting it for about $100,000 off. And it was ridiculous. Like, just because the agent didn't know. And she didn't know. And it wasn't my job to educate her. And I mean, it's bad. I educate my clients, I don't educate them. This thing was already renovated. So I want you to imagine we paid $200,000 for this thing, $200,000 for this thing. I went in and we did an open house to get it rented. And everybody come in, they're like, yeah, all these apartments around here, they're like $600. I'm like, great, so we're $1,000. Like, you're never gonna get $1,000. I said, oh, I'll get 4 $1,000 agreements today. And everybody's like, no, you won't. I'm like, okay. So we get a group together and they're talking about it, and they're like, well, you know, that's really high for this area, you know, because it wasn't granted, it wasn't nice. I was like, you want a $600 neighbor, you want a $1,000 neighbor? We got it booked. Everybody's like, they knew exactly what I was saying. Like they didn't want to deal with the same things they were dealing with in $600 rentals. So we jacked it up. They come in there, and then we sold it 2 years later for a huge profit.
Tim, was that with Granny?
Yep. Yep. And I like quadplexes. We got a quadplex on Spring Street, about a half mile that way. We just closed on a quadplex in East Tennessee. Yep. So I'm a big fan of quadplexes. Now we know about investing. So now we know sort of what you want to do. You got a plan. And these plans can work for different properties. I can find a property that I can flip it, then I can find the next property and I want to wholesale it. I can wholesale it. Every one of them, once you develop your buy box, you're going to know exactly what you want to hold. You're going to know exactly what you want to flip. You're going to know where the margins need to be. And if you can't, you can wholesale it if you know other investors looking to move forward. You're going to be able to know where you're going. So understand, now we figured out, now we're going to different ways to evaluate the property. The most important thing is evaluating the property. Because I've worked with some investors in this room, and the hardest part is finding a property. Because finding the property at the right price is difficult. And if you don't, your investing game is over. If you get caught up making a wrong move and you're $30,000 upside down, not everybody has that. So they're taking your property, ruining your credit, and it's not good. So you got to make sure you buy it right. The money is made in real estate investing when you purchase the property. Okay, 1% rule. 1% rule will work if you're good. If you're not good, you're never going to make it work. 1% rule is if I pay $100,000 for a property, I can rent it for $1,000. It's very difficult. Easier to be done in the rougher parts of town. because rents don't change a lot from the good areas to the bad areas, a little bit, but the housing value does. Type of tenant does too. Turnover. There are a lot of things that happen with that. When just to manage, you get you get $1,000 on a $100,000 house or $80,000 house, and which feels good. You're making money. You feel like you're doing good, but you got to evict them every 3 or 4 months, and every time you evict them, it's new paint, new carpet. They left with your refrigerator. Like it's a whole thing. So to get it where it works, it's a little more difficult. But 1% is 1%. If I got a $100,000 property, I rent it for $1,000. If I'm in it for $150,000, I rent it for $1,500. It can still be done. We're still doing it to this day. I did 2 deals in Tennessee, and we just bought one in LaGrange 2 weeks ago, and it's more than 1% rule in a good area that's going to appreciate. 10% rule. This is about what's working right now. And that's basically you just take the house value by 10, divide it by 12. It's like 12% or 1% rule, which is 12. This is just 10%. It's a little less. This is usually what it takes to cover all of your costs as far as a rental home. Because what you need to realize, if you're spending your last dime to get your rental house going, the first thing that's going to happen, HVAC is going to go out. The hot water heater or the water heater is going to go out. The roof's going to need done. Something's going to happen. So you've got to make sure that you get into it right so you're able to do this.
Can you say the numbers again?
The 1% or 10%. Take your house value, times it by 0.10, and divide that by 12. That will be your thing. Somebody have a question over here?
Value times.
I wrote it down. Value times 0.10 divided by 12. Another thing you want to look at is cash on cash return. That is how much money, like the 10% rule, the 1% rule, it all sounds really, really cool. The thing that really matters to a lot of investors is the cash on cash investing. If I only got 2% return? That sounds a year. That sounds horrible. Like, why would you do that? What if I could get in it for nearly nothing? Then my 2% would make sense. So that's a cash on cash. How much money am I making for the cash that I have invested into the property? This is what you need to look at with cash on cash return. It's your cash flow divided by your cash invested times 100. This is how you come up with your cash on cash number. Really important, especially when you're looking at these deals, because a lot of times, a lot of deals will work when you make a bigger down payment. I went through that route too. I'll just do a bigger down payment. I'll make it work. Then you look at your cash on cash, and then you have an equity multiple too, and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I'm missing out. I have a lot of opportunities with my equity that I'm not because I put a bigger down payment. So you've got to make sure that your cash on cash is good. That's one you want to keep in the back of your head. Cap rate is more for commercial properties, but a lot of investors that have watched too many podcasts will talk about cap rate. So cap rate, your NOI divided by your market value times 100.
Now, is it not possible if you did a larger initial investment into a home, a cash investment, after getting a steady renter in there to go back to the bank to get 100% financing to pull your initial investment back out to use for another property?
You won't get 100%, but yes, that's my favorite strategy. I've saved at the end. Yeah, you just ruined it. Leave it to Brandon. Does that make sense? Like some of the valuation principles?
I have a question about the cash on cash return. You said cash flow divided by, what was the equation?
Cash on cash flow divided by cash invested times 100.
Is there a target for that?
It just depends. There's not like a 1% rule like there is in the investing. It just depends on what you want to do. Yeah, well, no. I pay zero attention to that, and you'll see at the end is the strategy that I do with most. It don't matter what my cash on cash invested is. It doesn't matter what my return is as nearly as much, but it gives me opportunity to work on that. Okay, so you found the property, you know what type of investing you're going to do, and now you're going to have to negotiate. We're going to go into things you must know about negotiating. These are questions you need to ask because you have to get to to solve a problem with a cash offer, which is where you're going to have to be investing most of the time. If you're looking on the MLS for investment properties, you are never, ever going to be successful. You may do it every now and then. You may do a couple one-offs. The house you're looking for is not on Zillow. The house you're looking for is Caleb's not listing it. Angel's not listing it. It's going to be on the back side of your subdivision that somebody died 4 years ago, and the kids live in California, and they don't give a shit. That's where your money is. You go in, you find out there's $50,000 worth of debt, and you go in, you make them an offer. That's where your money is made. Your money's not made online. Every now and then, I mean, me and Christy bought a lot of properties and made it work. On time fixes everything in real estate. You can make a bad purchase, you hold it long enough, people are going to be saying how lucky you got. Man, you were lucky. You made $100,000 on a house, and they're like, 10 years ago, you were ready to jump on a train track because of the way that it worked. Real estate is very forgiving if you can hold it long enough. Okay, why are they selling? Like their true why. I'm not talking, why am I selling? I want the money. No. Why do you want the money? Why do you need the money? Well, we just got doctor bills. I hate to hear that. What kind of doctor bills? Wife's got cancer. That's the why. That's a why that you can work with. That's a why that you can help them. You can solve that problem. You can't solve a problem. You can't have a solution for a problem you don't know what the problem is. You got to ask good enough questions. That's the difference between a good negotiator and a bad negotiator. A good negotiator can ask questions that gets feelings, that gets emotions, that comes up with the true problem, and then I can come up with a true solution. Until then, you're not going to have it. You're going to have somebody cold that you don't know their story, and the only thing they know about you is you're there to get their house at a discount, and they don't like you. You're an investor. Their uncle told them not to like investors. So that's what's going to be. What is the condition of property? Most of you're not going to be knocking on doors to find them, so most of them is going to start online when you're talking to them. What's the condition of your property? They're all going to tell you what? It's good. Good condition. Great. And then my next question always works. Great. Say you're going to keep this and money wasn't an issue. What type of renovations would you do? I'd redo those floors. What's wrong with the floors? They're discolored, little water. Oh, okay, great. What else would you do? They're going to tell you everything wrong with the house because they're talking about their house. And you just get them talking about it. And you're just like, that's great. That'd make a great house. How awesome would that be? You're just talking to them. How fast are you looking to sell? This one's crucial because cash offers are speed. That's what fixes it. If they do not need money fast, or it's not just a complete teardown, if they're talking to a realtor, they're going to go on the market because the realtor is going to make them 25% more. Well, some people know they're giving up for a discount, and some people don't want the headache. A lot of the houses I bought, people I don't want to deal with a realtor, and they're telling me, I don't want to deal with a realtor. I hate them. I'm like, that sucks. I do too. Sign here. No, it's just, you get that a lot. And it's just like somebody, I just want to deal with nothing. I want you to sign. I want to be done. I'm like, great. Like, you won't see me again until I hand you a check. Okay, that's all I want. A big problem a lot of early investors have is they don't want to deal with their tenants. They've got bad tenants and they don't want to deal with them. House I bought on Smoky Road a few years ago, lady called me. She's talking to all these investors, and she'd mentioned somebody that I knew. I said, I know that guy. I said, you tell him Tim Stout's in here trying to buy your house. And she goes, okay. She's texting. And she goes, said, you're a really good guy. I'm like, no, can't trust everything he says, can you? Anyway, so we got in there, and she's like, well, I think I'd like to sell you my house. I'm like, can you mind showing it to me? So we walked through the house. This lady's in there, and she just nasty house, nasty lady. And went in there, and she ain't paid in like 5 months. She ain't paid in 5 months. She come in there, and she goes, well, Lordy, you buying this house? I said, I hope so. I said, Miss Lorraine will give me a deal. I will. I'm just picking at her. And she says, are you going to kick me out? I said, yes, ma'am. That's going to be the first thing that goes. I said, you cannot stay here if you pay rent. I said, she ain't got nowhere to go. I said, the agreement was you pay and you stay. That's the agreement. That is a business agreement. That's not me being hard. Anybody who's ever owned rental properties, like you think, like, golly, you're such a butthole. No, like it's rough. You'll see, they'll take advantage of every way they can. But like I always do, like I've got a soft heart. And so I gave her 60-day notice, and I think I always tell them cash for keys. If you'll leave it in good condition, give me the keys and leave, I'll give you $1,000. That's enough for everybody to get back going. And that's what they do, almost all of them. We've had to evict, a couple people, Cheryl? Not a lot, because we do that. And she's got a good relationship with all of them too. But we'll go in and we'll give them this offer, like, hey, if you can leave in a few weeks, we'll give you this. I mean, you didn't stick up to yours, but we don't want to put you out. It works, and it goes a long way.
Are we giving out $1,000 for all of our properties? Sure.
Yours too. If you buy and sell 100 with me, I got yours. Oh, come on. Just sign here. How fast you looking to sell and what price are you thinking? This is really important. Like a lot of people's like, I'm not going to ask them their price. I know they're going to say $300,000. You better get it out now. Get out what they're thinking. Like, get out what they're, I'm looking to buy, okay, I'll sell my house. I want to sell it for $200,000. That's interesting. Can you tell me how you come up with that number? I'm intrigued. I really want to know now. Well, my uncle said this. I said, great. So how many houses your uncle sold in the last 10 years? Only a couple. Okay, great. I said, I've sold about 3,000 in the last 10 years. I said, you mind if I share how I come up with the valuation? Please do. I'm explaining things. And then they're like, okay, I get it. I said, okay. And for this deal to work for me, I'm going to need it here. And this is why. And I just explain it. If you do not explain it, it's going to be something you're going to trip over later. And when I say trip over, I mean leave $60,000 on the table because you didn't fix that person's problem. When you're doing this, your whole mindset is I'm fixing their problem. I'm fixing their problem. Because you are. You're absolutely fixing their problem. Because if you don't do it, someone's going to come behind you and fix it and maybe not do it as ethically as you do. Okay, so with negotiating, so that's the four thing, is the four pillars that we're always looking for. Why are you selling? What's condition of the house? How fast? What price are you thinking? These are the pillars. These are our anchors. This allows us to move forward. We have everything we need to know. But remember, we're not going surface deep. That's one thing you can't do. Is like you just get surface deep. What price you thinking? 200. Okay, cool. 200. How fast you looking to sell? Tomorrow. Great. It's like you ask. Like, why is that important to you? You're going to ask enough questions, and they're going to let you know I'm getting foreclosed on. If I'm getting foreclosed on, what does that mean to me? Speed. Have to move fast. First house I ever flipped. Guy called me. It's a true story. Guy called me. And most of them are lies, but this one's true. Guy called me. He said, Tim, won't you sell my house? Okay, great. I'd love to sell your house. Walked through his house, and I was like, I can't sell this damn house. I said, it's a hoarder house. I said, you got shit to the walls. I said, I can't walk through it. I was like, you can come in and get everything out. I said, I can sell it. I said, I'll sell it for a couple $100,000. He goes, okay, I'll call you when it's done. Didn't hear nothing from him. About 8 months later, I was inside Bank of America doing something. And he calls me back. I said, hey, man. He goes, won't you sell that house? Okay, great. I said, you get all that stuff out? And he goes, no. I could tell in his voice, so what's going on? He goes, I'm getting evicted here in New York. And he goes, and the bank's about to take over the house. I'm like, well, that's horrible. So how much keeps you from being evicted? And he goes, about 5,000. I said, okay. Because they had tax liens. I said, how many tax liens? He said, about 8,000. I said, I can send you $15,000 non-refundable. I said, if I can close the house, it's mine. If they get it before then, it's yours. The money's yours. He's like, okay. Sent him, talked to my attorney. We closed about 2 days. The day we closed, lien sign went in the yard, going to go for tax auction. The day we closed. We beat it by hours. Did about a $30,000 renovation in it. We made a $150,000 profit on it. I was able to fix that guy's problem. If he would have talked to anyone else, they would have did their due diligence too deep, and he would have lost everything. He'd have been evicted in New York, no house, nothing. Was able to fix that guy's problem. That's the first one I ever did. And it was like one of those, and you're just like, oh my goodness. And it was a small amount, but it was a big amount. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, as you invest, your threshold for risk gets bigger. So in the beginning, it's like $15,000. Like, it's just like, it scares you to death. So what is your goal number? When you come in, you got your 4 pillars. What is your goal number? What do I need to get this at? By asking those 4 pillars, you determine their whys, wants, and needs. And by doing it, I build rapport. If you come in like a robot, you come in like the mean person trying to buy their house, that's just that guy, you're never going to get it. Buying and selling a house is emotional. It's not transactional. And that doesn't matter if you're a real estate agent or not. It's a very emotional decision. It's not transactional. I can't come in here with a spreadsheet and be like, Harris, this is what you can make, sign here. I come in, I talk to Harris. We both have kids. We both have dogs. He drives a truck. My dad drove a truck. I'm building rapport. I've talked to him. I know him. I'm getting closer with him. Closer I get to him, the more stories he's going to tell. The more stories he can tell, the more I get to hear about his problems. Problems are painful to talk about. If I can get someone to talk about their pain, they do not want to repeat that to a new person. You can help that person by getting that way. It's an emotional decision, but you have to strike emotion. You have to get that emotion out of them. And you have to talk to them. And I'm not talking going there to be a scam artist. Like, I'm talking like really get to know people. You can't fix someone's problem until you really know. You are paid in direct proportion to the problems you solve. Someone about to lose their house, big problem. Somebody that's about to, lose it to a tax lien, that's a big problem. So you're able to solve those problems. And if you structure it correctly, you can get paid handsomely for it. Determine their number. It's always more than they'll take, 100%. Talking to a guy this morning down below LaGrange, West Point, talking to him. He's like, well, I'd like to have, Zillow says my house worth 180. I said, great. I said, it sounds like that'd be fair. He goes, yeah. I said, you know what the A in Zillow stands for? He said, what's that? And I said, accuracy. And he goes, Zillow don't have an A in it. And I said, you're exactly right. I don't have much accuracy either. Did you say something, Angel? Okay. And so I said that, and he giggled, and he had a 423 number, which happened to be where I'm from. But he's from Middle Tennessee, but they didn't have any numbers. So I was talking. He told me all about his phone number. He kept talking. And he got him down to 120,000. And I said, what do you rent it for? And he goes, $1,000. It's already rented. And I'm like, ugh. Okay. I appreciate your time. He said, what do you mean? I said, if I'm buying a property, I said, I'll at least get it at 1%. He said, $100,000, I'd do it for you. It's like, when can I see it? And this property Zillow says this thing's worth 150 to 180. Everybody knows what the A in Zillow stands for. So we outsell Zillow all the time, a lot. So if that house, let's say that house is worth 150 on the low end, what is my MAO? What is my max allowable offer if nothing needs to be done for it?
7% less than that.
That's where we're at. We're able to get it. It made sense. I'm going to see it. If it's a good shape house, I'm going to buy it. Or I'm going to wholesale it. Or I'm going to hotel it. I'm going to call Caleb and be like, Caleb, got a hell of a deal for you for $150. That's wholesaling. I have investors. I'm able to do that. So understand that. Their numbers are always high. Anchor offer. Okay, anchor offer is the advanced way to negotiate. You got to be really careful that you're not offending anybody. You're not stepping on somebody's toes when you start an anchor offer. An anchor offer is your idea. Like an anchor offer, say you have a $100,000 property, you want $100,000 for this property. And I'm like, oh, I'm buying properties right now, but I'm closer to 65. Like, well, that's not going to work. Okay, well, let me do some numbers and let me get back with you. Okay, they're wanting 100 now. They're thinking 65, and I show up, be like, I can give you 75 for it. I'd probably do 75. Now we're able to work. Now we're able to anchor offer. One thing I do, because people want options. This is one of my pro tips. People want options. So when I show up to buy your house, I have 3 different options. I'm gonna give you. I'm like, okay, that's what I'll pay your house. It's going to take 6 weeks. I'm going to go to the bank. It's going to take time. This is my cash offer. That's 70% of that. And I'll give another property or another value that's probably higher. Say they want $100,000, I'll give them $110,000. But I want them to owner finance it for 0% for 3 years. So now they have every option they could ever want because I give them options. They do not have to go anywhere else to get an option. I've got 3 of them. Most of the time what you're going to find is, well, I like this, but I like this down payment. Okay, we can adjust this number. I mean, if you like the $20,000 down payment, but you'll owner finance the rest, we can do that. Okay, well, who's paying for closing costs? I see you've done this before. I'll cover closing costs. How much is closing costs on a cash closing? Very little. It's those evil lenders that take all the money there and close. Just kidding. That's the evil lender in the back. But that gives you opportunities. Everybody wants to win a negotiation. Let them win. Let them feel good about what they just did. But you have to start with that in mind. Come to an agreement or not, you got to stay in contact with them. If Caleb wants $100,000 for his house, and I want $100,000. Okay, great. Caleb, I'll only give you 80. Want 100, ain't gonna work. Cool. Do you mind if I follow up in about a month? See how you are? See how the property's going? Absolutely. Call him a month. How's it going? Call him 4 or 5 months. Then call him one day. I say, hey, how's it going? He goes, it's been rough. I lost my job a couple months ago. Hate to hear that. You never know what's going to happen. That $80,000 is sounding real good right now. When can I come look at the house? When can I see if I can help you? That's what I'm doing. I'm helping. And I'm able to get a deal. because of that, because I was able to stay in touch with him. Because if you do not, they're not going to remember your name. If they don't remember their name, they're not going to use you. Agree on time frame, financing type, inspection period. I always want an inspection period. If you say you're going to buy it as is, which is fine, I do that a lot, I'm still going to get an inspection. I'm still going to have a due diligence period. And we bought one in LaGrange last year. Got up into the attic during the inspection. Half the house caught on fire 30 years ago, and there were some trusts burn out of hell. So I'm like, this is going to be an extra $20,000, and I got to get a new roof. I was buying this house as is. I already got it for a steaming deal. It's worth about $260. We paid $130 for it. And I went back and I said, hey, I know I said as is, but I said, this is unexpected. I said, I didn't know this happened. He goes, that happened before I had it. I'm like, doesn't change the fact it happened. I said, do you think we can meet in the middle here? He goes, I think that's fair. Give me $10,000. That was fair. I was still getting it at a discount, but my numbers were getting close. And that's what I could see. That's what my inspector could see visually. I always get an inspection too. You're not that smart. Don't bring your dad to ruin the deal either. It'll happen.
So that's what I was wondering. So when you have a situation, you have an opportunity, you got them, you get the mutual agreement, it needs to close quick. How do you get the guy out there fast enough sometimes to really
Get the what?
the inspector out there quick enough sometimes? You don't want to buy a limit.
Well, it's going to take you 7 to 10 days to close it, and that's if your attorney's on top of it, because they've got to do title searches, they got to do insurance, they got to do all that stuff. You got to make sure they own the property, because you'll be surprised how many times that happens. Yeah, they'll have to run all kinds of stuff. So I always tell them 10 to 14 days, and I get my inspector out there a couple days, and got a good relationship with the inspector. They'll get in there. Really important. Determine the type of financing. Bank financing. Probably going to get some of your best rates through the bank. They're going to run you through the ringer. They're going to ask 1,000 questions, then they're going to ask another 1,000, just the way it works. I own a mortgage company. I know exactly how it works. Hard money lender. Hard money lender, it's Harris. Harris has a lot of money. Harris don't know what to do with it. Harris gives me money to do deals. That's a hard money lender. We have agreement. He gets first lien to the property, and he borrows money. I have a hard money lender I use. And it's just, I got money, but I'd rather use his money than my money. His money's his risk. My money's mine. Most hard money lenders right now is probably going to be 10 to 12, maybe even 15%. My hard money lender is about 8%. I met this hard money lender because Caleb made one of my clients mad one time. We was buying this investment property. I'll tell this real quick. Buying an investment property, and the lady, Caleb made her mad. She goes, I am not talking to you ever again. I'm like, okay. You got to talk to my attorney. Showed up, the attorney's like, Tim, you buying this property? I'm like, yeah. He said, you buying cash? He goes, why don't you use my cash? What terms you give me? I said, 8%. He goes, I see what you do. He goes, you don't mess up, you don't fail. He goes, you're great. He said, I'm not going to charge you points. I even have an appraisal. He's like, show me what it's worth and take a picture of it. I'm like, okay. And I bought 5 or 6 properties with him. Just call him, be like, hey, you got 200,000? I got 200,000. Okay. We'll just go buy it and we'll sell it. But that's because Caleb made a mistake. So turn lemonade into lemons, or one of the vice versa. I don't think. That's what you say.
What are the terms on a hard money?
Depends on the lender. A hard money lender is Tim Stout setting here. It's whatever I come up with. Most of the time, you're going to have to pay points. Like you're going to pay 1 or 2 points when you sell. You're going to have to get an appraisal. There are a lot of different things. They're going to charge you 10, 12, 15%. Depends on what it is. Hard money loans. The hard money loan lender I've got, I hold long term with him. You should probably never do that. But his rate is so low, it's competitive with a lot of the banks. If you got a guy doing 15%, you're not doing that with rentals. You're not doing it with short term. You're doing it with fix and flip, or what we're going to get into with the burst strategy. So that's short term money. Short term money, it eats you up too, because I pay it. I got a notification in my phone that rings me every day on the 3rd, because I got 2 mortgages with him. I walk to his office, hand him a check, shake hands, and we're good. And that's what I do. I have to pay him regardless. If it takes you 3 months to get your house up and going, you're paying him 3 months. If you don't pay, he takes your house, because it's his house.
So even if the rate is competitive, more competitive than the bank, would you stay doing that if it's interest only? Would you do that at 8%?
I would, absolutely. And most hard money lenders, they can all go. Most won't even do. They'll do like 12 months. He'll do 35. Something happens when you get to 36. So he told me if you need to redo it, we can redo it. But that's where we're at. And it's interest only. But I mean, he's loaned me money that's sitting in an asset that's improving in value. That I have insurance, and he's making $2,300 a month on loaning me money. Just the money. That's just the rent for me to have his money. That's sitting in a property that's appreciating, that's insured. That's awesome. So he's able to do that. I know people who do it with their own home equity. They got a home equity line of credit. They got $500,000 home equity line of credit. They're doing hard money loans with it. Home equity line of credit, 7%. They're loaning it for 15. They make 8% for nothing for owning a house with equity. They're able to do that with. So it gets super neat with that. JV, joint venture. JV is a partner. The hardest part, who can tell me, somebody that don't know, what's the hardest part about investing in real estate?
Was making a note, you said it's the hardest part
About investing in real estate,
for the first time?
period.
It's the first step, it's that doing the first deal,
Finding the property.
buying the property that first time.
That's horrible. If you can find the property, you will absolutely 200,000% find the money. I partner with people all the time. Tim, I got a deal. Ain't got no money. Hello, friend. You have money now. And we're able to come in and work a deal. Harris brings me a deal tomorrow. I'll be like, okay, Harris, we can partner on whatever this is. It's not a 50-50 deal because that doesn't make sense. If Harris brings me a deal, say he brings me a deal, I need it to be at $100,000 for it to make sense for me. And Harris says, Tim, I can get it for $90,000. I give Harris a $10,000 check. Or I can give him 10% of the property, whatever he wants. There's a lot of money to be made by being able to find deals. A lot of money to be made finding deals. And you find a deal, I will absolutely have a buyer. You find a good enough deal, I will be the buyer. And I'll walk you through. Me and Travis partnered on a deal about a year ago. Found a property, we went through it, walked him through the entire process. This is how we do this is why I'm thinking, this is what we did. Sold it, made a lot of money. And it worked perfect. That was a joint venture that we was able to do. So JVs are great ideas. Don't partner with someone because you're scared. Partner with someone because they have something that you don't have. I have money, you have a deal. We are partners. I have a little bit of money, you have a little bit of money. Let's find a deal. Like that's the reason you do it. Not because you're scared to succeed, because the worst thing you can have in most businesses are partners. So, and owning real estate is a partner. Seller financing. This is one that's becoming very, very popular because of high interest rates. So people's able to come in and buy these properties that the owner, they've appreciated. We've already talked about how crazy appreciation is. So they got $300,000 house now worth $400,000 houses, and they're like, well, I'll sell it for $350,000. I need $50,000 down, and I'll sell the rest for 6% interest. That beats the bank. It makes sense. Okay. Most of them have a balloon, which means they all going to come due 3 to 5 years. That's not commercial investing. It'll come due then. So we have owner financing, quadplex, owner finance, about a $400,000 property, purchase $300,000. We put $100,000 down. The owner is going to finance it for 30 years, 0% interest. It doesn't get any better than that. Absolutely. We're going to cash flow $4,000 on it. But this is me and my partner in Tennessee talked to her. She loves us, so great. Tells us, well, I've also got a sixplex, a duplex, 2 commercial lots and a property. I'd love to sell it to you. Talked to her for a few minutes. And I said, I can go to the bank and get you that money. I said, bank's only going to loan me about $750,000 for that. I said, but it's worth more than that. I'll give you $1 million for it. She goes, you give me $1 million? I said, yes. So here's how I'd like to do it. I'd like to give you another $100,000. I'd like you to owner finance. Somebody over there. I'll give you another $100,000. You owner finance the remainder for 30 years, 0% interest. I said, let it balloon in 10 years. I said, you're going to be gone. Her problem, because I asked really, really good questions, her problem was she had a partner in these properties had a drug issue. If I drop $500,000 in this guy's lap, what's going to happen with him? Up his nose, or he dies. Yeah. So I was able to solve that problem. I was able to build rapport. Had a brother that overdosed. I was able to build rapport. I know exactly what you're scared of. I know where you've been. This can help you. This helps me. This helps you. She said, I really like you guys. I feel really safe. I said, okay, let's work.
If you're doing owner financing, are you assuming that they have the property paid off?
There's ways to get around that. I'm getting about that next one. You can get around it. We've actually did one up there too. So subject to is wrap mortgages. Yeah, you can still pay. We'll do a subject to, which is what we're going into next. Subject to is I buy the property subject to its existing mortgage. Bought one in Bristol, Tennessee. The guy bought it about 2 years ago, had a good rate, but didn't have enough equity to sell it. So we assumed it for what it was worth, subject to 2.3% interest rate. And they were a second mortgage, which we assumed his second mortgage was the value between what he owed and what we agreed on. Does that make sense? First mortgage was the real mortgage. The second mortgage was the value between what he owed and what we agreed on. And we're like, we'll do that, but we're going to do it at the same percentage rate as that. He goes, okay, that's fine. We're cash flowing $700 a month. Subject to is very tricky. Make sure you have experience or somebody that has experience, because you drop the ball on that one, you're in trouble.
What's the difference between assuming a loan and subject to?
Assuming loan, you have to qualify for the loan. Subject to, you don't qualify. Subject to, it's your property. We are going to get paperwork that says I have a power of attorney to anything to do with that property. I'm going to pay the servicers. I'm going to pay the insurance. I'm going to pay, stays in your name. It improves your credit, and I pay for it. I get to enjoy the benefits of it and cash flow. And people's like, why would I do that? The second I buy your house, I'm going to do a $50,000 renovation on it. I'm going to make it everything you wanted it to be. The first time I missed 2 months' payments, the house is yours, and you get to keep everything I paid in. It's in the paperwork. It's signed by attorneys. It's yours. You'll be surprised, especially the interest rate. Most people selling their properties, they don't have to have cash. They don't have to have money. First thing I like to ask is, what are you going to do with all that money? Not even thought about it. Is the money not important to you? The money's very important. You're not going to spend it? What if there's only one person in any transaction? This is what I explained to him. There's only one person in any transaction that makes money. What do you mean? Sometimes the buyer does, sometimes the seller does. The bank always makes money. Harris, I can make you the bank. I can pay you 7% interest. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And if something happens I don't pay, you get the property back. And he's thinking about it and be like, I'd like to have $1,200 a month for the next 30 years. I'm able to work deals. Ask enough questions, you get solutions to their problems. If you don't ask questions, you're not getting their problem. You're getting what they want to tell you. Walk into a store, I'll use this analogy, like walk into a store, lady says, can I help you? First thing out of your mouth. Nope, just looking. No, I'm here to buy a suit. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be sold. An experienced salesperson knows how to talk to me. Same situation. Come in. What are you here? Just looking, thanks. Okay, great. If you see anything, let me know. Cool. Next door I walk into. Nick, what are you doing? Just looking around. What are you looking for? Just stuff. Like what are you needing? Like suit. Have you looked at the blue suits? They go great with your eyes. Let's go look at the blue suits. Here we go, waddling over, look at blue suits. And because somebody was able to go further with me, they asked enough questions to solve my problems. I needed a suit, but I'm too hillbilly to know what kind of suit to buy. I don't know what it's supposed to look like. The wife didn't go with me today. I don't know. I need someone to tell me that looks good, you don't look disgusting, and it fits right. So it worked. Okay, inspections. I always hire a professional. Don't bring your dad. I mean, you can, but don't take their advice. Okay, I was going to talk about this, but this is a Christie thing. When you find the property, you get it in contract, you get an inspection. Then, that's when you want to get your contractor through. That's when you figure out what the work is. You need to have a basic understanding, and if you don't, get it at a bigger discount, because you're going to get messed up with that stuff. Like, you're going to get it at a bigger discount. If you can't improve it to where you want to improve it, you're not going to get max value. I'm going to talk about the BRRRR strategy. It's my favorite. Then I'm going to let the guests talk. So put your contract in, you fund the deal. Fund the deal, you contact a closing attorney, and they walk you through everything. If it's owner finance, same contracts. If it's a subject to, same contracts plus. If it's a traditional, same contract. Like you always go to attorney. You always want everything filed. You always want your insurance. You want everything done, so you always go. Handshake deals, quick claim deals, you better be careful. Start hitting all these quick claim deals, and somebody comes around the corner and they have a right to that property. And now you got to prove they don't. And so there you go. You're going to be in all trouble. BRRRR strategy. This is my favorite strategy. This is the one I encourage everyone in this room to do. BRRRR strategy. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. I'm going to buy a property undervalued because you understand that's how I buy a property. I will rehab that property. I will bring my contractor through. I'll renovate the property. I'm going to put floors in. I'm going to put new paint in. Sometimes it needs new cabinets. Sometimes it just needs paint. I'm going to bring them through. So I've improved the value. Then I'm going to rent it. I'm going to prove to the bank that it's got value in it. So if I paid $100,000 for it, I put a $20,000 into the investing into the rehab, and now I've got a tenant in there paying $1,200 a month. So I'm making my 1%. The money sounds good, makes sense. I'm gonna go to the bank because I paid $100,000 for the property. I did 120 in it. As a flipper, now the value is $160,000. A flipper would put it for sale, sell the property, keep the 40 minus commissions, taxes, and all that good stuff. That's what they would do. The BRRRR strategy. I go to the bank, like, I want to refinance. They're going to give me 80% of that loan. I'm in it for 120. The value's 160. They're going to hand me, let's say, $120,000 back. I get every dime I put in that property back in my pocket. Someone else paying the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and I'm making $200 a month over top of it. Cash on cash doesn't matter when I have no cash in it. Like it's a bazillion, it's infinite because I have no money in it. The same money that I just took out of that, I go find another property. And I repeat it over and over. We did it, my goal last year was to do it 12 times. I think we did like 7. But we did it a lot with the same exact money. We pulled it out, we put it back in. We pulled it out, we put it back in. We were able to do that. I use investing in experiment. The time before that, I wanted to buy an apartment complex. And it's like we come through these ideas and she's got to keep me wrangled in. But this one's super important is because you get a chance to recycle your money. Last thing you want to do is have $50,000 tied up in a property that's making you no money. Or making you $200 a month. That's not a good return. You know, of course, great return, appreciation, sounds great. What are you going to $200 a month? You can't even go to a steakhouse for $200 a month. Unless you eat like my wife. Then I wouldn't be able to eat. To watch her eat her salad and drink her water. She might give me a crouton. Because she don't eat carbs. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. This is the one there's a book, David Green wrote a book called The BRRRR Strategy. It's a great book. It's got an Audible. You definitely want to check that out. Super smart guys, Bigger Pockets podcast, and he discusses how he does this. And you can do this with duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes. You can do this with anything as long as there's value to be created. And it's the same thing as flipping, except taking your profit, you're leaving it in sometimes. We did, first BRRRR strategy we pulled out Jackson Street. What did we pull out? We pulled out every dime we had in it plus like $56,000. And it still cash flowed $400 a month. So all of it, $56,000 and that.
So on residential, what is the average percentage the bank requires you to put down on the investment?
Investments probably 20-25%. Yep.
What was the name of the book you said? The book?
BRRRR strategy, BRRRR strategy. I can send you a picture if you'll remind me, Pete. But that book's a really good one. It keeps you on track. It keeps you looking for a goal, because for most of us, saving up $50,000 to invest in a property is cool. But then we're like, great, what do I do for the next 3 years while I'm saving up another 50? This allows you to do the velocity of money, what we talked about, putting money behind it, moving faster. This allows us to do that. Do you have a question, Daryl?
Yeah, I was going to say, from my understanding, when you do that BRRRR
and have the extra money that you pull out, it's tax-free.
It is tax-free, yep. And that's one of the biggest things about it. Like if you can come in these properties and you're paying all cash, which is awesome, but when you are not taxed off of debt. Once the bank gives me money, it's now a debt. So you're not taxed on it. You're only taxed on earned income or capital gains. You're not taxed on that. Perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Utilize the 1031s.
Do what?
On the difference, to utilize the 1031 to work back in deferred,
For the BRRRR?
deferred 1031.
For the BRRRR strategy?
For your
Anything?
strategy, when you pull out and you have the equity and you're reinvested, it's already 1031, so you just continue.
It's not a tax event
Not until you pull out.
until you sold it. Even when you pull out, it's not a taxed event because it's debt. If you borrowed, it's debt. Yeah, debt. You don't have to sell it. Yes, that's when 1031 comes in.